Hello viewers, in this part of the program, I shall discuss the approaches of irrigation scheduling. Optimum irrigation schedules are necessary for higher crop productivity. Irrigation schedule indicate when to irrigate and how much to irrigate. If one knows when to irrigate and how much to irrigate, then definitely the judicious use of irrigation water may be done. The precious irrigation water may be saved, which higher production may be taken. Scheduling irrigation is the process of determining when to irrigate and how much water to apply. Proper irrigation scheduling indicates the correct time when to irrigate and amount of irrigation water, that is how much to irrigate at each irrigation. It saves water and energy, boosts up yield and reduces the production cost. There are several approaches for determining when to irrigate the crop. The approaches can be broadly classified into three groups, that is soil moisture regime approaches, climatological approaches and plant indices. On the basis of these three approaches, the irrigation scheduling can be determined. The first approach is soil moisture regime approach. Soil moisture content is estimated to know the deficit in available soil moisture at which it is proposed to irrigate based on predetermined soil moisture content to bring the soil to field capacity. Soil moisture content is estimated either by direct gravimetric method or indirect measurements such as tensiometers, resistance blocks, neutron probe, etc. Soil moisture content can be judged by feel and appearance of the soil with experience. Generally, the farmers irrigate on the basis of experience by feel method of the soil or by seeing the plants. The farmer irrigate the crop. Whereas on gravimetric method or indirect methods, one can estimate the quantity of water required, as well as on the moisture content basis one can estimate the requirement of irrigation of a crop. Methods for determining soil moisture content. Gravimetric method. This is a direct and reliable method where moist soil samples are collected, weighed and dried at 105 to 110 degrees centigrade for about 24 hours until constant weight is obtained. The ratio of weight loss in drying to dry weight of the soil sample multiplied by 100 gives soil moisture percentage in the sample. The formula used for this method is soil moisture content in percent is equal to weight of moist soil, that is Wm, minus weight of dry soil, that is Wd, divided by weight of dry soil, that is Wd, multiplied by 100. Volumetric water content in percent can be calculated if the soil bulk density is known, and for this formula is volume of water content in percent, that is PV, is equal to Wm minus Wd divided by Wd multiplied by 100 multiplied by bulk density. In this way, both volumetric basis and weight basis moisture content can be determined by this direct method, that is gravimetric method. Neutron scattering method. Use of neutron probe or neutron moisture meter is a rapid means for monitoring profile water content in the field. It consists of two principal parts. Number one, a probe which is lowered into an access tube inserted vertically into the soil and which contains a source of fast neutrons and a detector of slow neutrons. Number two, a scaler, that is count recorder, to monitor the flux of slow neutrons which is proportional to the soil water content. The source of fast neutrons may be a mixture of radium and beryllium. This method is in fact non-destructive method. In this method, tube has to be inserted in the soil, and this tube emits fast neutrons which are slowed down by collision with the hydrogen nuclei, and the speed of these neutrons is slowed down and the volume of slowed down nutrients is determined, and ultimately moisture content is determined. Measuring energy status of soil water. Electrical resistance, tensiometer and pressure method come under this category. The electrical resistance of porous bodies placed in the soil and left to equilibrate with soil water content can be calibrated against the water content. Such units, generally called electrical resistance blocks, usually contain a pair of electrodes embedded in gypsum, nylon or fiberglass. The electrodes are soldered to copper lead wire for connecting to the conductance meter that measures changes in electrical resistance in the blocks. Resistance to the flow of electricity is proportional to the moisture content in the soil. In this case, gypsum, nylon and fiberglass are generally used. Gypsum measure water tension at 0.1 to 15 bars, whereas nylon measures water tension below 0.2 bars and fiberglass measures water tension in a wide range. In case of saline and alkali soils, generally gypsum block do not works, but in normal soils these works better. The tensiometer consists of a porous ceramic cup connected to a sealed vacuum gauge or manometer. The cup filled with water when placed in the soil comes into hydraulic contact and tends to equilibrate with soil water through pores in the ceramic wall. When placed in the soil, water content in the tensiometer is usually at atmospheric pressure. Soil water exercises a suction which draws out certain amount of water from the tensiometer, thus causing a drop in its hydrostatic pressure. This is indicated by a vacuum gauge or manometer. Generally, tensiometer works very good in medium textured soils and heavy textured soils. In light textured soils, these works less in comparison to heavy textured soils. In pressure plate apparatus method, the soil sample is placed on a ceramic plate permeable to water in a closed airtight chamber. The chamber is connected at the top to a compressor to create desired pressure and at the bottom to an outlet for water. Constant pressure at desired level is applied to the upper side of the plate and water flows out from the saturated soil sample through the outlet. When soil water comes in equilibrium at the pressure applied, the soil sample is taken out and water content is estimated gravimetrically. Soil water contents at different pressures are determined to construct the soil water potential curve, which is referred to estimate the water content of a soil at a particular pressure. In this way, by pressure plate membrane apparatus, the water content can be determined easily and rapidly, and with the help of the curve, the water content is correlated with water potential, and ultimately the irrigation schedule can be obtained on the basis of the moisture content of the soil. Another approach is climatological approaches. Potential rate of water loss from a crop is primarily related to evaporative demand of the atmosphere. The potential evapotranspiration can be estimated by empirical methods, that is Blaine-Creedle method, radiation method, modified Penman method and Penn evaporation method. Irrigation can be scheduled if allowable depletion of moisture in the root zone and evapotranspiration during the crop period is known. On the basis of climatological approach, the irrigation requirement of the crops can be computed, and for irrigation requirement of the crops, different climatological data are needed, and by the use of these climatological data and crop coefficients, the crop water requirements are computed. Penn evaporation is used to determine the amount of irrigation water to be applied in the ratio of irrigation water and cumulative Penn evaporation, that is CPE, from United States Weather Bureau Class A Penn, usually known as IWCP ratio method. IWCP ratio of 1.0 indicates scheduling irrigation with quantity of irrigation water equal to that lost in evaporation. Smaller ratio indicates irrigation at longer intervals and larger ratio indicates frequent irrigations. This IWCP ratio approach is practical approach for scheduling irrigation, and nowadays in our country IWCP ratio approach is broadly followed for scheduling irrigation. The Penn evaporation is easily available at everywhere, and on the basis of cumulative Penn evaporation, the irrigation water may be applied to the crops, and optimum IWCP ratio has been determined for different crops, and on the basis of optimum IWCP ratios, irrigation is being scheduled to different crops in our country. This method appears to be simple provided evaporation pen is available. In the absence of any evaporation pen, simple 1 liter can with a pointer to measure evaporation rate, that is can evaporimeter, can be used for scheduling irrigation. So in this method of irrigation, even a farmer can use cane evaporimeter, and on the basis of cane evaporimeter he can schedule irrigation to his crop. The third approach is plant indices. Any plant character related directly or indirectly to plant water deficit which responds readily to integrated influence of soil, water, plant and evaporative demand of the atmosphere may serve as a criterion for timing of irrigation to crops. The visual plant symptoms, profile modification and increased plant stand are the methods for deciding irrigation scheduling based on plant indices. Since the plant is the integrator of all the factors, therefore, the approaches based on plant indices are practical for scheduling irrigation. Visual plant symptoms. Visual signs of plant wilting can be used to schedule crop irrigation. Farmers frequently use dropping, curling and rolling of sensitive plant parts as an indication for plant water deficit. Distinct change in foliage color is also used to time irrigation. In these methods, the crop has already suffered before exhibiting wilting or change in foliage color, reflecting the influence of water deficits on final yield. So this is again the practical method of irrigation scheduling. Since the green color becomes light when irrigation is applied, but when irrigation is delayed, the dark green color occurs on foliage, and that is the symptom of water deficit. At that time, irrigation may be applied. Similarly, there is wilting of the crop during noon, and that indicates the deficit of water, and at that time the irrigation may be applied. However, by these visual symptoms, some yield loss is there because irrigation is little bit delayed at appearance of these symptoms. Leaf temperature. An infrared thermometer measures the difference between canopy and ambient temperature, the number of degrees by which canopy temperature exceeds air temperature. Each day is accumulated until a certain level predetermined is reached. When the level reaches, it is to be irrigated. Since there is difference in temperature of the canopy and ambient temperature, so due to the high humidity, the microclimate of the plant canopy is different that in comparison to atmosphere, and infrared thermometer is the parameter by which this can be measured cumulatively and ultimately irrigation timing may be decided. Leaf water potential. Leaf water potential is measured by removing a leaf and placing it in a pressure chamber. The pressure in the chamber is slowly increased until fluid is forced from the leaf. The pressure used is a measure of the leaf's moisture potential. Lower potentials indicate a greater need for water. So, this is the destructive method of determination of moisture content in the plant, and more work and more labor is required for this method to decide the irrigation timing. Profile modification. This method, also known as soil cum sand mini plot technique. The principle involved in this method is to reduce artificially the available water holding capacity of soil in root zone depth in the mini plot by mixing sand with it. Plants on sand mixed mini plot show moisture stress symptoms earlier than plants in rest of the area. Symptoms of plants in the mini plot technique: time for irrigating the crop. This profile modification is the improved method of visual deficiency symptoms. Since here sand is mixed with the soil, and in this way the deficiency symptom the plant will show slight earlier in comparison to other part of the plant, and at that time irrigation can be applied. In this way, in this method there will be no yield reduction. Increased plant stand. An area of about 1 square meter, preferably in a high spot, is sown with the same crop to maintain about 4 times the plant population compared with that in the surrounding area. Crop with high stand establishment wilts earlier than the crop in the rest of the field, indicating timing of irrigation. Again, increased plant stand is also modification of visual symptoms. Here again, due to high plant population, the deficiency symptoms will be shown by the plants earlier and irrigation may be applied. So again, there is no reduction in yield by this method of application of irrigation. The next question comes, how much water to apply it? With the help of earlier 3 approaches, one can know when to irrigate. For the answer of the question how much water is to apply, irrigation water applied should bring the soil to field capacity. As such, the quantity of irrigation water to be applied to the soil at each irrigation depends on the amount of available soil moisture in the effective root depth at the start of irrigation, or the level of available soil moisture depletion considered for irrigation. Effective rainfall and or groundwater contribution during the interval between 2 irrigations, additional quantity of irrigation water, if any, required to leach the soils beyond the root zone depth, the application losses. So, The quantity of water required in each irrigation will depend with these four factors, that is water availability in the soil at the time of irrigation, application losses, water needed for any additional application, and the effective rainfall during two consecutive irrigations. Net irrigation requirement. It is the amount of irrigation water required just to bring the soil moisture content in the root zone depth to field capacity. The net irrigation requirement is the difference in soil moisture content between the field capacity and the soil moisture content in the root zone before application of irrigation water. Net irrigation requirement is equal to MFC minus MBI divided by 100 multiplied by bulk density into depth of the soil. Here NIR is net irrigation requirement in centimeter, MFC is soil moisture content in percentage at field capacity, MBI is soil moisture content in percentage before irrigation, BD is bulk density, and DS is depth of the soil. With the help of this formula, the net irrigation requirement can be computed in terms of centimeter of water, and the quantity of water can be computed in this way. Gross irrigation requirement. It is the amount of irrigation water that must be applied to the soil surface to meet the net irrigation requirement for each irrigation. Hence, gross irrigation requirement is the net irrigation requirement plus water application losses or the total amount of irrigation water to be applied through irrigation. Gross irrigation requirement is equal to net irrigation requirement divided by efficiency of irrigation system. Greater the efficiency of irrigation, less will be the gross water requirement. So, water can be saved by increasing the efficiency of irrigation, and irrigation efficiency may be improved by choosing right method of irrigation. Irrigation interval. Number of days between two successive irrigations during the peak period of consumptive use of the crop is known as irrigation interval. It depends on consumptive use rate and amount of available soil moisture in the root zone depth between field capacity and starting moisture level for irrigation. It is a function of both the crop and soil. For a given crop, light shallow soils require more frequent irrigations than fine textured heavy soils. Moisture use rate increases with increase in leaf area and as the days become hotter. So, irrigation interval depends on number of factors. It is a function of soil and crop. If the soil is light, then irrigation interval will be less. If the soil is heavy, irrigation interval will be more. If the crop is having higher water requirement, irrigation interval will be less. If the water requirement is less, then irrigation interval will be more. Crop stage is very important in this case. At peak growth stage, the water requirement becomes more and the irrigation interval is reduced at peak growth stage. Similarly, the other factors, say for example climate, also influence the irrigation interval. In hotter climates, the irrigation intervals are less in comparison to colder climates. And whenever humidity is more, definitely the irrigation interval will be less, and humidity is less, then irrigation interval will be more. Irrigation interval to be used for design is the number of days between irrigations during the period of highest consumptive use of the crop. The average moisture use rate during this period is the rate to be considered in designing and planning irrigation systems, and this is known as design interval. Design interval is equal to net amount of moisture between field capacity and starting level divided by peak period moisture use rate, that is net depth of application divided by peak period use rate. Irrigation interval is generally necessary for peak period water requirements. I would like to quote one example for computation of irrigation water on the basis of IWCP ratio. For example, one has to calculate IWCP ratio 0.5, 0.75 and 1.0 for 6 centimeter depth of irrigation water. Then what will be the cumulative pan operation for these ratios? So, for the solution of this problem, CP for 0.5 IWCP ratio will be depth of water, that is 6 centimeter, divided by cumulative pan operation is equal to 0.5. By multiplying 0.5 with cumulative pan operation equals to 6, and in this way cumulative pan operation will be 6 divided by 0.5, that is 12 centimeter. So, for IWCP ratio 0.5, when the cumulative pan operation will be 12 centimeter, then irrigation has to be applied. Similarly, for 0.75 centimeter, after 8 centimeter of cumulative pan operation, irrigation has to be applied, and for 1.0 IWCP ratio, after 6 centimeter of cumulative pan operation, irrigation has to be applied. In this part of the program, I have discussed different approaches of irrigation scheduling. The main approaches of irrigation scheduling are climatological approaches, plant indices, and soil moisture regime approaches. An ideal irrigation schedule must indicate when to irrigate and how much water to apply. The three approaches indicate when to irrigate, whereas the soil moisture content at the time of irrigation, so that to bring it to field capacity indicate what amount of water is to be applied. On the basis of these two answers, one can optimize the irrigation scheduling of the crops, and higher crop yields can be obtained by optimum irrigation scheduling.